Hello and welcome to episode 22 of the Isuzu A-League Download. Thomas Sorensen, Norm Sekulowski back. How are you, chaps?
Yeah, good. Good to be back. Well, like, what a weekend.
There we go.
It's just goals galore.
You don't have to, you just have to wait for the great football to turn up and eventually it'll come, and it's come, and there were just a stupid number. I find games with that many goals hard to analyse, Norm. So there's pressure on you two today, huge pressure.
They've brought in the A-listers.
Yeah.
Archie on the bench, he can do the GP.
Yeah.
He can do all of that stuff. And we'll just get the main guns in here.
Exactly right. Archie Thompson, you're dead to us, wandering around in your leathers, following Nigel Mansell, trying to, sort out his tyres when there's a yellow flag warning. I'm available if you want me to host the F1. It is so boring. And also, can I just say, no one in Australia really likes it. You just pretend for 2 weeks. It's like the tennis. Also available to do that. Where should we start? Look, so many highlights, weren't there? Like Wanderers on this great run. They come back from 2 goals down. Western United scoring 6. Ridiculous game between Adelaide and Macarthur. Mariners doing well against Auckland. And some great Robbie Stanton as well from Newcastle Jets. Let's get into it. Let's start at the Combank Stadium Saturday evening. Western Sydney Wanderers 4, Melbourne victory 2. Victory 2-0 up, Thomas. And then brilliant from the Wanderers.
Yeah, and again, it just turned around half-time because, Victoria had a couple of chances. Lawrence Thomas makes a great save. And then you got to say Ryan T just loses Grave. They get a goal back and then, fantastic. And I think that's the... 4 games in a row now they've won. The Cauldron has seriously been lit out in the west of Sydney. It's like that Lord of the Rings scene where they lit and it sort of goes across the mountains.
Yeah.
And then Sydney FC are sitting there and like, whoa, the fire's coming towards them.
They know it's
fantastic.
Coming.
Yeah.
They have to wait 28 hours. Wouldn't it be better if Tolkien had been an accountant? Because those books they go on, and the films. They go on forever.
They're great films. They're great
films.
Stop it.
Very, very good.
Stop it. Stop it.
Let's move on.
Yeah, okay. No, you're right. I was once on TalkSport complaining about Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
And I got really... Because, basically...
You got worked up.
You could just go right to the end and the boss texted again, could you ever get this engaged about football? Could you possibly try doing that? And I was like, Okay, you're right.
Yeah.
It's the first time they've won 4 straight since someone very generously has called the Thomas Sorensen era in 2015-16.
And they reached the grand final. Lost to Adelaide, so you know what? It bodes well, and they've turned it around. Like we're seeing this team going up and down, and now Adelaide, the few teams are slipping. Victory are just hanging on to that 5th spot, and I think they actually play Adelaide next week. So heaps of things to come as well.
Victory started so well, didn't they? The Valupile finish is so good.
Oh, gorgeous.
Brilliant advice
Absolutely
from
gorgeous.
the ref. Somebody should send that to Valerie Germain, wherever he is.
The refs are great.
Yeah.
It was great.
To make space for that finish is brilliant from Valupile.
And they look so comfortable. I mean, great finishing. Really, that first half, Azani, I don't know whether he stepped up a level after the Socceroos call-up, but, he was flying, and they genuinely looked pretty comfortable. But then I think there's a pivotal point when Panterzopoulos...
Such a moment, isn't it?
Yeah, it's such a pivotal point in the game, and it just turns... And then, we've been saying that Nakas Stajic has just, turned this place around. And they almost lift when them subs are made, and they just take the game. Milanovic takes his top off and he's holding it up just to say, look, it's all about me. Plenty of me time, it's all about me. I think sets up the second one. So them subs are just pivotal for Wanderers. And 4 in a row. What's their record? I think it was 7 under Popper. Mm-hmm. They're not far off now, so timing it perfectly.
Yeah, you're so right. Carry on. Tom.
Yeah, and Brendan Borrello back on the score sheet. I think he's
textbook.
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 You say it, I'll say it. Textbook. I've written textbook.
Yeah, it is textbook. It's not like it's not his forte. I think headers, but again, I think he's. You look at his run, like he's a pivotal player for him. Yeah, Milanovic has been good, and there's been other, it was, as I said, Antonsen coming off the bench. So there's been, Sapsfirth as well has been good, but I think him alongside Brianta, I think in that midfield, I think are the engine, and he's deserved his call up as well for the Socceroos.
Yeah, it's so interesting you talk about fine margins. Just that clearance off the line. It's just, you just think that changes this whole game.
No, but Lawrence Thomas makes a great save just around that time as well. So yeah, it is. And that's where Victory would sit there. They're 2-1 up. They have chances. They could have sort of close the game off,
yeah.
and then like you just end up losing 4-2, and it looks bad. It's just, and I think that's where Victory are at the moment. They have their moments in games where they play really well. They have the players, but they can't do 90 minutes, and they don't do that very often, and that's where they are just hanging on.
Yeah, the one fatigue I think you mentioned when he lets Kraev just disappear. He loses him in the penalty box. I think there's a corner after that, and he's a lot more tighter, right? And at least he's got some pressure on the man, and it's a more difficult attempt,
and he makes a save,
right? And he makes a save. So little moments in games.
Yeah. We saying Arthur Dillez doesn't have the knackers. Is that
no?
He's got the knackers.
He's got the knackers, but he just doesn't have the knackers that Knackers has.
He's the original. There's only one original.
Yeah.
Not in this game.
Kraev as well played really well. I mean, talk about the goal, but like 6th of the season, it's been recalled by Bulgaria, and he had a great game.
Well, he's he's come. It's never easy for foreigners coming over and trying to.
Tell me about it. I got here 3 years ago. The culture shock between England and Australia is insane. It's Wheat Bix instead of Weetabix.
How about Vegemite? What's your Vegemite equivalent? Martamite?
Martamite.
Martamite?
Yeah, Martamite is, that's a condiment sponsored by the Brazilian great, isn't it? You have to park in the same direct. It is a culture shock.
It's a culture shock. Anyway, so he's done brilliantly, been rewarded with the call-up for the Bulgarian national team. So that's massive, obviously, for himself and the club. It's just about, I think, for Knackers, with so many good players on the park and off the park, I mean, he's got depth everywhere. We've said it with a few of the other teams. It's about keeping everyone happy and keeping that mood positive in the changing room leading into the final series. But really, really exciting for Western Sydney fans.
They're up to 3rd, Victory down to 5th. Western United a 2nd. Unlucky not to lead the show with a 6-2 victory at Newcastle Jets. They were, and they have been brilliant for a long time. The football they play is great, isn't it? It's a classic example. So many of these goals are just lovely little through balls, just through the lines, and Newcastle just didn't have an answer for them.
No, and again, within 7-8 minutes, the game was more or less done. I think that's second goal, Natta's own goal. I think some Newcastle's day up.
Yeah,
they've had such a great run. This was a wake-up call, I think, for them. They we're going to talk about the Melbourne City game where they luckily...
They could have lost that 6-2 as well.
They could have. That's definitely, food for thought for them. But I think, they've been brilliant. I think, some of the young players, Grimaldi, Bosanovsky, obviously Botic, have stepped up, and Leonard at the back, so I think that's been crucial. And then, they've got some Dansaki. I think, he's come from Brisbane and has really stepped up. And then, you've got Ibasuki up front. So I think, we've talked about Eloise's job and what he's done there and where he's taken them from the start of the season to where they are now as a serious contender, because, it's all open. I think there's 5 points, and plenty of games to go. So, you know what? You can't
knocking on the door, Tom.
You are knocking on the door, and they deserve it.
Yeah. And even if second could be Champions League as well, if Auckland win the league. So, that's still an important place to finish, isn't it? I just love the football they play. Like that opening goal, the pass from Grimaldi to Botic is perfect.
Look, I love the fact that Johnny A's backed in a group of young players and they're performing. Right, you look at Boz's game, his BOG, a couple of goals. Grimaldi, some of the forward passes that he's making, like you said, a lot of bravery for young footballers. And then Botic, potentially unlucky not to get a call up. I know Popper's probably gone for a little bit more experience, but just keeps doing what he's done all season, and really, really strong all-round team performance from JA's boys, Western United. So they're gonna knock on the door and push Auckland, I think, all the way.
Just want to touch on Noah Botic and the celebration, because there was a bit of a hint there. It's like,
bit of cheeky in that.
You gotta. Where's the call up? After he scored, so again, the young kid's got confidence, and he just needs to keep doing what he's doing. And you know what, it's a tough job as a national team coach. Going into 2 important games. Who do you trust? And then obviously, as you said, he's probably leaned towards Taggart and his experience
Surely Tony Popovic isn't ringing each player now. Like the celebration should be just WhatsApp me, shouldn't it? Like add me to the group.
No, of course not.
Should
No. But he was indicating the missing phone call.
I understand that. But
I think that
you think the manager rings.
Yeah, I think he rings the fringe players. I would do that if I was a
always, whenever you got in the Denmark squad, who was your coach?
Morten Olsen. But he always rang up the fringe players. He always rang up the fringe players.
That, Tomo.
And obviously delivered good news, but also the ones that probably would miss out and just gave them a little bit of a pep talk and then probably gave them a reason. And then I think that's fair. I think because then you don't want people going out in the media and sometimes
just not knowing. I just don't know. I'm being ghosted by Morten Olsen. It's very upsetting. Did you retire or did you get? Was it just someone had to ring you and go, mate, you're not in the squad?
No, I got retired.
Oh, you got retired? Nah. Did someone call you?
I missed out at the Euro 2012. I got injured just before.
Right.
And I think technically the doctor retired me.
Oh, the doctor did?
Because I was going to retire after the Euros and the doctor said, nah, he's not going to be fit. And I was like, I will be fit. And then there was a bit of history because the 2010 World Cup, Morten Olsen had taken, I think 4 or 5 players that were struggling with injuries, and then none of them ended up playing. So he sort of swore that I'm never going to take an injured player. And then obviously I got injured in the last friendly, and then he said, I just can't take you. And I was like, I will be fit. And he was like, nah, I have to trust the doctor.
Praying. It's cowardly to make the doctor do it, isn't it?
That was it.
Dr. Nick, hi everybody. Thomas, you're out. Look, well, West United, they're great. Now, look, Robbie Stanton afterwards, he's great value, isn't it? These hands that built Australia. In the press conference, there's lots of controversy about his future. Has he signed a contract? Is he leaving? When's he leaving? This was him in the press conference afterwards.
Do you understand the feeling of the fans, the frustration that another coach that is doing, let's be honest, a terrific job with this squad is potentially going to be leaving? I can go back through Carl Robinson.
I'll stop you there. I'll stop you there. I'll stop you there. Just wait. I'll stop you there. You can go through all that. At the end of the day, I said, and this is for me, I will be forever grateful, whatever the outcome, to Newcastle Jets. Why? Because they had the balls to put me in here. That's the first one. So my obligation is to the club and the club first, that I develop the best people, the players, whoever's around me, and I do my best no matter what. That's what I do. Regardless of my future, it's irrelevant. That's what they hired me to do. They backed me, and they're still backing me, and that's what I intend to do. So if I do that really well, the next guy coming in should smash it. I believe I've done a top job. So I believe the next guy will kill it. Whenever that is, at the end of the year, in 2 years' time, it's irrelevant. The idea is to keep building the club.
It's interesting him saying, when the next guy comes in, these guys are going to smash it, aren't they? I quite like that as a tactic, because it just means whatever happens, if Newcastle ever win anything, it's him that's done it. He's sort of like, he's clever.
He's setting himself up. I think, and he has done a great job. I think, he's in a situation where, they lost this one, and that was obviously a blemish on the record, but they've gone 7 unbeaten. And, I think they're still, with the games they've got coming up, they've got, I think, Macarthur away, and then they've got Wellington and Central Coast, I think, at home. So, it's not done yet, but they need to win 5 out of the 6 to have a chance. But again, I think he's the young players, and he has done a good job. But it was a bit cryptic. I don't know what you make of it, because it's sort of, what does he actually mean? Is it, because he was saying, the players are selfish, and
post match he was pitch side, and he was saying, look, all players are selfish. They don't care about me. No one cares about me.
Newcastle don't care about me. Whatever.
Well, he's right. All players are selfish.
Yeah. Look, Robbie's Stanto's a former teammate of mine from Wollongong Wolves. He wears his heart on his sleeve, Maxi. And I think what you see there is a dose of honesty, a little bit of transparency.
I really liked it.
You know what? Sometimes it's refreshing to see that in a world sometimes where we glaze a little bit. Emotional after a pretty big loss, getting things off his chest, has a little bit of a vent. So be it. Where this goes from a Robbie Stanton perspective, time will tell. I think what Tomo just said, they've still got 5 games there where they can push as hard as they can, give something back to the people of Newcastle and the club of Newcastle. and just push forward. So
You
play
guys,
on.
you guys know better than me. Like, has he been great at this football club?
I think, looking at the players that you have on paper, I think he's definitely performed a lot better than he should. I think they struggled. He stuck to the philosophy because early, they were creating chances, but just giving goals away. And I think they've definitely shored that side of it up. And got some exciting young players, and he's given them a shot, like Eli Adams, Bayliss. There's plenty of them, and I think they've stepped up. Definitely.
Yeah. Well, look, I think I want him to stay in the league. for
Yeah,
sure.
of course.
He's great value, and considering what a stressful job it is to have not one grey hair, is incredibly impressive. They'd won in midweek, hadn't they? At Melbourne City.
Oh.
Noah James had some game.
Brown paper bag, Tomo.
yeah,
Wow. The president just comes with a brown paper bag and says, "There you go, son."
Yeah, it was. I think we had with the WhatsApp group. It was like the Great Newcastle train robbery, and he was the mastermind.
Midweek as
That
well.
was unbelievable because I was at the game. I just couldn't believe it. Melbourne City had chance by chance by chance, and he made some great saves. He had a bit of luck, and they.
Did.
Then Lucky Rose, just pops up and steals it absolutely. And you know what? Those are the games. That's what makes football great. I think
Totally agree.
You see it. Like sometimes we saw was it Liverpool against PSG and like Alisson and it was a similar game. And for me as a goalkeeper, these are the best games where you just know it was me.
It's all about
everyone.
me.
Yeah, the brown
Play
paper
yourself,
bag. Everyone
play
should come to me
yourself. Yeah.
because you as a goalkeeper, like a lot of times you get stick and maybe sometimes you don't get the credit, but he definitely deserved all the credit. In that
Yeah,
game.
and actually, quite often when you say our keeper's had a brilliant game, they've made loads of saves, but they're all saves they should be making. But actually, he made 2 or 3 here that were sensational. And when he wasn't there, and I'm not sure who it was,
I think it was Socceroos.
it made this amazing sort of like a salmon, like he sort of like, like just like chest, like going
Fresh water.
Yeah, exactly, fresh water, just jumping out, going.
High nipples.
I think we should reenact it.
The high nipples made an appearance, I think, which is great.
it was so good.
How about Politidis' miss?
You know what? They should. If they don't make finals, they'll be looking at that game and say, "Well, that was one that got away."
Totally. Now, on Friday night, and we thought, well, this has to be the game of the weekend. And it's what, third on the list? Adelaide 4, Macarthur 5. Completely ridiculous. And with a 5-4, I think this is pretty much how you want the scoring to go. One team go 2 up, then it's 2-2, 3-2, 3-3, 3-4, 4-4, 4-5. And then we have the equaliser, right? Which is just offside, the 5-5. And interestingly, have you seen Arsene Wenger talking about how he wants to change the offside law? Have I talked to you about this?
Yeah, I've heard
the
about
torso.
it. Yeah.
So he wants to change it from
Enlighten me.
extremities to torso, right? So if your foot is ahead of me, but our torsos are in line, then you're onside.
So does that mean when defenders are running back, they'll just
It's
they'll
terrible.
just throw themselves
It's
backwards?
terrible for Bacca because of his nipples,
high
right?
nipples.
The high, long nipples. Because, but yeah, it's now more about your chest hair than how big your feet are.
Yeah.
But it is interesting because offside wasn't brought in for that. He's coming back. It's over there. I know it's offside. I'm not complaining about
It's
the
obviously
decision.
technology has given
Yeah.
that.
So VAR has exposed how offside doesn't really work. But actually, his torso's onside, so that would have counted, and we would be having a 5-5 if Arsene Wenger gets his way. I'm not saying
They
everything
had,
else.
they had another chance after that.
They
They
did.
did, yeah.
They hit the post. My God. they
Anyway,
couldn't.
analyse the whole game for me because I find it hard when there's this many goals.
I think the game had everything. I think, they had great goals. Kiddo's goal was
Kiddo's goal was
fantastic. They had,
outstanding.
Luke Bratton, 2 great strikes. It had mistakes. I think both keepers got caught out playing out, Kurdo and Delyanov. Mm-hmm. And it had just high energy. And Stefan Mork, I think he always gets in there and, that goal. I think Delyanov maybe could have got a hand to it.
Questionable.
Yeah, it's a good strike. It has a lot of pace on it. It's straight down his throat, and then he shows the calmness to set up Goodwin after that Curtin mistake. It's just end-to-end stuff. Yakelis, I thought, was great. And Macarthur, I think, you look at the players they've lost, and I think they've actually, collected themselves off the canvas and actually showed great great spirit in this one.
Yeah, big win for them. They're on 28 points. Okay, they played 21, and Sydney and Adelaide above them have a game in hand. They're, 5 points off 6? But it's not inconceivable that they could break in, isn't it? And what is interesting is, I think we were talking about Adelaide being sort of coming second. They're on a good of a run, and now they're down in 6th. And like one of these teams, at least, will miss out on finals.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we spoke about it last week with Macarthur. What are they going to do, post-transfer after they did lose a good group of players? Keely Adamson comes in, plays a part in the first, the press for the second goal, and then finishes. So it's nice to see Miller just keep plucking these players and bringing them into the fold, and then being able to get results quite quickly. So that's really, really good. Look, they're knocking on the door, and you just don't know. For Macarthur, they need to keep pushing. I mean, Carl Viet, I think notably last week, pretty upset. Again, he'll have to pick up the lads after what was a pretty big game, and just keep going. Now that we're in that final phase, you just got to put your best foot forward every time.
Yeah, and it's great to, from Macarthur's perspective, I think, Luke Bratton being given the captain's armband and leading from the front. It was his first, I think, 2 goals.
Was that a knuckle
First
ball?
goal.
Was that a knuckle
I think it was a
ball?
But he's got that. Like,
He's got it in the locker.
I played with him at Melbourne City. He's always had his range of passing is really top quality. And I think he's stepped up his leadership now. Yeah. I think that's where he was probably, maybe lacking. He was a bit too lax, and you can see now that they gravitate towards him, and he's taken that.
Leader.
He's definitely a leader, and
leadership.
I'm obviously it's tight in that midfield with the Socceroos, but he's definitely one that's on the fringe for sure.
Are we too old to say knuckleball? I feel it's something the kids say. I mean, I know it's the
Knackers,
accurate
knuckle.
Yeah,
I mean, whatever way you want to describe it.
But it's such a great, it's very hard.
And then he got on the beers as well. Or,
did he?
Just Dan Andrews, get on the beers.
I think he indicated,
and then he
thought
paused,
about it.
And then he paused,
maybe not.
Oh, yeah. He thought warm day in Adelaide.
Yeah. He should have just
do you think down the whole thing, sort of, and then put it on his head like this?
Yeah,
and
just chug it down.
Or actually what he should have done is gone to the bar, stood at the back of just waited at the back of then ordered. Seeing everyone else wants one. If he's showing leadership, that's what true leadership would have been. Get around in. Auckland 2, Central Coast 2. So Auckland's still top, aren't they? I'm really pleased Mariners equalised late on in this game. I think they really deserved something from this game.
It was a tight game.
It was.
Auckland do play a lot of tight games, and they just tend to come out on top. And in this one, yes, they
what a scrappy equaliser that is.
It was.
Yeah, but hey,
it's an
you take it.
equaliser.
It's Auckland, they got the great start. Julian O'May again popping up. I thought Nathan Paul was, I don't know, he got caught sort of, just stuck to his ground. I don't know what he was anticipating, but that is a top striker. Just keep moving and getting in the right position. And then De Vries, I think, also got sort of stuck. I don't know if he got the
totally
sun.
stuck.
I don't know if he got the sun in his face, but he was
watching the Lord of the Rings in Western Sydney Wanderers, wasn't he?
He was watching the beacon coming over the mountains. But so I don't know what to think about Central Coast, because they seem to have something about them, and Feixao got his first goal,
another first for the A-League.
Yeah, so. You know what? They're probably just working towards next season. You can't obviously see them doing anything this year, but who knows?
So pleased that equaliser happened, because in the build-up there's a turn. Is it Christian Theoharis?
Yeah.
That turn is the best bit of football, I think, from the weekend.
And he's about to get subbed off.
Is he?
I think.
Brilliant.
So it was just showing, change the number.
That was like bird camp, wasn't it?
No, it was brilliant. That was absolutely brilliant. But massive for Central Coast. Taking a point away from Auckland, huge.
Yeah, and mainly the mates. Still the Premier's plate is still up for grabs. Like, you look at, they could have shored it up like weeks ago, but now,
are the wheels falling off? Is that what you're saying?
No, that's what I'm definitely not saying that.
Thomas Sorensen says the wheels
half
are
a wheel.
Off
There's a puncture on the left rear wheel.
Yeah. Thomas Sorensen says Auckland are a fraud of a football club. That's what I'm hearing. And
I'm saying there's a puncture.
You've got to be controversial these days.
Yeah, okay.
We want a big social media hit. Thomas Sorensen says Auckland shouldn't be in the A-League. It's in New Zealand, for goodness sake.
There's a hand grenade.
Yeah,
right there.
He keeps saying these things off air, and then he comes on and he's this ultra professional guy. guy, but honestly, massive potty mouth.
We want him to let go like Robbie Stanton. Just
Exactly.
let it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just let it out.
I'll consider that for next week.
That was Thomas Sorensen. Shut up now, Max. You could sense it. Anyway, look, still top, 4 points clear, having a brilliant season. At the bottom, the Perth Glory Brisbane Roar game, and actually it was all about Samuel Klein on his 21st birthday, getting his first and second A-League goals, and the second goal is a peach, Thomas.
Yeah, and I actually talked to Scotty McDonald up at the
Gold Coast.
Gold Coast Knights, and then he was bragging to me about like all the players he lost last season, and they're all and Samuel Klein is a former Knight from last year. So he'll be smiling from ear to ear and taking a fair bit of credit.
Would have loved it.
But yeah, fantastic. On your birthday, getting your first 2 goals, and yeah, what a way to do it. There were some great goals, like Luke Amos. That first goal was cracking.
Always looks better off the bar, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Tony Gabala
it has a
style.
bit of more action
Yeah.
to it, and I think it was his first goal since 22 when he scored for QPR. So that's amazing for him. I think he's definitely been an asset, and been a good addition to that midfield. But again, there's a lot of pride. I think Sakovic, he definitely wanted to get something back on the team that fired him. So there was a bit of spice in this one.
Yeah, absolutely. And you don't mind a little bit of peacocking. I mean, Zatkovic would have absolutely loved that. But, you talk about Scotty Mack, and good on him. Why wouldn't you be smiling? Look, to be able to produce these young boys, I think that's a story in itself. Coming out of the NPL system out in Queensland, and almost in some context being a production line is a great story. And for the young lad Klein to get a brace, that's huge.
Sydney Wellington, it was a 1-1 draw. We're not interested in games that don't have 55 goals this week. But good finish from Zegatic. Lovely ball from my mate Joe Lolly. Barbarouses, who's like one of these, I imagine he's like 200 years old, and he will play forever. He's immortal, and he'll always score like 20 goals a season. But Sydney had lots of chances to win this game.
In the position there, and they obviously got that, Asian Champions League, and they got that extra squad rotation. There was a few players that were rotated for this one. Douglas Costa came on. You know what? They have to be worried. I think they've got a tough schedule, and continue to play in the Champions League. So it's going to be touch and go for them to make finals, and that would be a big disappointment. When you think about, like, definitely they were one of my favorites going into the season. The acquisitions, the talent, it's a worrying time outside of that Champions League thing, because they should have won this game.
Do you take winning the Champions League too and not making the finals? Trophy's a trophy?
Probably.
Okay.
I think, it's important to win trophies. And again, in the broader picture for Australian football, we saw Central Coast do well last year, so it would be great for another Australian team to go all the way. But there's always that but. I think you still have to, when you look at it's 6 teams, with that budget and those players, you can't. There's no excuses for not making finals.
You're nodding back here.
I think Ufi and that group at Sydney would want to finish well into that top 6, if not the top 4 or top 2. Considering that list, strong club, and really that game should have been put to bed. I think Olawayemi makes it 2.
He makes a couple of good saves.
Makes a couple
coming back in, because he's been stuck on the bench for a while. So for him, they got that reaction, which is good.
But it's the challenge for the clubs that are playing within Asia. It's not Europe with it's a lot closer geographically. All of a sudden they're pretty big trips.
Totally.
And trying to balance this out with the local stuff and the international fixtures is a challenge.
Do they have to fly economy with their kids? Because then suddenly you're going to Korea and you're like, how many stickers have you bought?
They must be in the point.
Klimala's going,
surely.
I've got still these kids, I've got, stickers.
I think it's just another question we add to the email to the AP. We can just we'll put all the questions down and we'll send the email off.
No, but you're so right. The travel is ridiculous. Like there's no other way you can do it. If you've got to go to China, you've got to go to China.
Yeah,
you've got to go to Korea. But that is, and they are obviously they're probably flying with nice flat beds and all that. But still,
but they did play at home this week though, so it's not like they were traveling this week.
Then I take everything back that I've just said in the last
So they
20
were
seconds.
playing at
Yeah, no,
home.
you're right. I remember the away game where Costa was brilliant. They were 2-0 down in this game, actually, against
were.
Gus Poyet's
Yeah.
man.
So
that's
look
a
away
great-
pass from Costa.
Yeah, no.
Quite good, isn't he?
Yeah, not bad.
He's quite good in
He
it.
is quite good. That's the insight that you get on this show. So that what are they into the semi-finals now? Do we know who they've got? They play Singaporeans Lion City Sailors.
We hate the Lions.
Singapore.
Do we hate the Lions?
No, yeah, we want City to go all the way. We hate the
They're
Lions.
good side.
Okay. Lion City Sailors. But you mean you don't know?
No,
everything
I've never
about
heard of them. Actually, no, but
We've
they
found
must be good.
a hole in
Must
his
be
They're in
knowledge.
the semis.
Yeah.
They beat. It's just coming to me on the teleprompter here. This is like broadcasting from the 1950s. They beat. Hang on, just stay with us. They beat. It's the cursors going. Tick, 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 tick. It's coming to me. It's coming to me. They beat. Now this is a long story, but you remember it from last week. And if you can't remember it, go back and watch last week's whole episode. It was a good one. That was that side that won 6-1, but they played Valerie Germain, who obviously left the A-League because of the referees. He was suspended, and so that turned into a 3-0 victory for Lion City Sailors, Sanfrecce Hiroshima. And then in the second leg, you're like, well, they've won 6-1. They'll go and do it again. They didn't. It was a 1-1 draw. So that's why Lion City Sailors are in, and that's why they play Sydney FC in the semi-finals of the Champions League 2. And we could have done the research before the show, but we didn't. It's life. Socceroos. What do you make of the squad?
Obviously, there was some injuries that has to, there's definitely in the back line.
Suter and
Hayden Matthews as well. I don't know. It's great to see, obviously, all the A-League players. Like you tipped Ryan Teague to be in there. I was surprised with Asani because he hasn't played that much, but I think we saw this weekend that X factor he can bring off the bench. That he's not taking Iran Kunda, who I think got Player of the Month in Switzerland. But yeah, it's fantastic. Botic, we've already talked about him. Obviously, he wasn't happy with the missing phone call. But I think he's gone for that experience, and you've seen a Yengi, alongside up front. So it's going to be two massive games. It's definitely the first game they have to win in Sydney, and then you go to China.
Not
Who
easy.
knows? Yeah, so you have to keep that little advantage that you have over Saudi Arabia, who you play away in the last game.
I think you see with Asani that and obviously you don't know, go from A-League to international, and it is different. But like, if the way he set up that, was it the second goal?
Second goal.
Yeah,
for Piscopo.
It's decision making, isn't it? Lots of players are talented. Lots of players have got tricky feet and good low centre of gravity. But it's going, actually, I'm brave enough to keep the ball because now's not the right time to deliver it. And you saw in that moment, sort of encapsulates the guys. He's really got elite talent.
Yeah.
Very clever.
Yeah, and he's got that Douglas Costa. You know what he's going to do. Like he's going to knock it past you, but you just like that little 1-2 step that he has. He's gone. And I think the surprising thing, because there was criticism. I think Popovic came out in November and criticised Asani deliberately, saying that he hadn't performed well. He wasn't training well enough. So maybe that's where the surprise lies. But also he knows what he can deliver in those moments where he might have to unlock something late in the game, and he can do that.
Yeah, and that's, I think, again, brave from Popper as well, that he's challenged him, a few months back, and he's put him back in the squad, and warranted, right? I think his performance over the weekend was really, really good. Obviously, T, great to see another lad that Popper's worked with in the squad. I think the quota from the A-League has gone up to 10 from 7 last time. So, a great endorsement for what the A-League's doing as well. But again, two real crucial games. You think Indonesia, we sort of get through them. He has opted for, a little bit more of an experienced squad. I sort of put my hand up pretty aggressively last week for Botic. Maybe not.
Were you not aggressive enough, do you think?
Potentially could have done a little bit more campaigning, but
Sergei didn't make it, and Angus, I'm sorry. I tried, and then he scored an own goal. It wasn't your fault, obviously, but
I think the blessing is that there's a pretty big backlog of players that are knocking on the door, right? And to have these young guys, to have Botic there, top goal scorer of the league, and he hasn't made the squad, that's just going to make him hungrier. and driving for next time round.
And I mean, the table, I mean, we talked about it last week. It's just so funny. Like, it's just so funny that you
Throw a
just,
blanket over it. Yeah.
Exactly. You know, Japan have just gone, all right, we're really good. And everyone else has gone, I just don't want to win any games. Like, it's totally mad. It's mad that China has won more than a bottom, but have won more than anyone else in the group apart from Japan. And anybody can get through, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, you sort of go, oh, we should get through Indonesia, but there's no divine right, is there? And
No.
But at the same time, it's just there for the taking. It's just going just a couple of wins, and suddenly this table looks so different.
And again, like we have to be honest. Australia have to, you know, they you know, you're looking at the games they've got left. In my book, now they have to be able to qualify, and that's the pressure. I think you know, no matter who's injured and who's not, I think that the quality is there, and the experience as well. You know that, you know, as a nation, you're used to qualifying. You've been there. Despite maybe some young faces and new faces, but yeah, they need to win in my book, both games.
And if they don't,
yeah, but then you just don't want to be you just don't want to be in a situation where you have to go to Saudi Arabia and have to win. You know, in that last game, I think it's the last game. So, you know, that's a tough place to go, and they're a decent side.
okay, well then win. I mean,
Yeah,
if you weren't thinking about it before,
It's simple.
yeah.
No, but
No, I totally agree. And look, it's a 48 team World Cup. I mean, soon, if Gianni gets his way, it'll be 300 team World Cup, and it'll last for 75 years. And play on. Under 23s, there's the Doha International Cup in Doha. Interestingly, that's where I'd put the Doha International.
What are the chances? What are the chances?
No, it's strange. It's such a coincidence.
Hey,
It's so often it's not there, and you're like, guys, put it in Doha.
brilliant minds.
Yeah.
No, but to be fair, like Qatar are sponsoring a fair few things at the moment, so maybe they could have sponsored in France, like the Doha city.
Do you know what?
Who knows?
Actually, it's not such a stupid idea, is it? You know, Copa del Rey goes to Saudi, I think. Anyway, 22 of 23 players from the A-League, and that's towards the end of March. Well, no, hang on, it's in 2 days' time, 19th of March. Time flies when you have young children. I mean, the years are quick, the days are long. 19th and 22nd of March, 22 of the 23 players picked from the A-League. But that is
Love that. Another great endorsement.
Yeah. And that is pretty much it. We've had a wonderful time. Time of our lives, guys.
It is.
Yeah. Strong stuff. We've had some really creative ideas that you've signed off to send to I think we're in talks to have an interview with the head of the A-League. I think he's watched this now and gone, I might talk to somebody else. We can do sensible questions as well. The APL announced that the league's annual Pride celebrations have commenced through to the 30th of March across Ninja A-League women and Isuzu A-League men. That is good. Football is for everybody, and we are allies to everybody. International break, so no show for us. Will you be okay? Will you be okay?
I'll be fine.
You'll be okay.
Yeah.
I think maybe we'll have a number of a call line people can call.
Oh,
just in case.
Yeah.
You struggle.
Well, no, if you want to ring Thomas Sorensen next Monday between... we're not recording on Monday.
No, Sunday evenings.
Yeah. If you want to call Thomas Sorensen
Helpline.
at the time that you would normally watch this on YouTube, his number is 0498 444 368. That's 0498 444 368. He'll take your calls day or night. If you want to watch something else, Total A-Leagues with Vince and Tommy is on a Wednesday. Nick Stoll, the wild man of Australian football broadcasting, with Daniel Georgievsky on the warm-up on Thursday. For the time being, Thomas Sorensen, marvellous.
Pleasure.
Batka, love your work.
Love it.
See you in 2 weeks.